Yeah, I've had mosquitoes taking great interest in me too. Pan, pan, pan. We have mosquitoes. Pan, pan, pan. Hey, woohoo! Mosquitoes here, even after mosquito repellent is applied. Message either from you or for you. Right? I understand. He's saying, like, how in the heck am I supposed to do all of this?
Right, juggle all these
That
knives.
is the question that we, all of us, have, but it's crazy to ignore the messages and pretend that they aren't there. It doesn't make them go away. This is something for you. It might be the answer to the problem that you've been asking. It's very possible this is the answer to the message. Now you have to decipher to the question.
That's
you have
true.
to decipher the message, but you've been asking a question. The mosquitoes show up and start harassing these body minds. Game theory would say, there's your answer. Now, what does it mean? Well,
That's a whole different ball.
that's a different ball game.
That's true.
But that's how the game is played. Now, if you'll excuse us, we've got to focus on the broken things.
That's true.
Hi, friends. In Planet Earth Dating, it's Wednesday, October 14th, 2015. Ra here in the Lynn-Body-Mind, Black Wolf in the Jamie-Body-Mind, other teammates and other aspects of the physical dimension, all of us in the physical dimension, and in the subatomic layers of the physical dimension from the perspective of the spirit world viewers.
That's true.
A beautiful gift of a life in the physical dimension is that it is a clear bringer of messages. It's easy to tell that the messages are present, or rather that is the first level of the game.
That's true.
And once the messages are recognized as such, then it gets much more complicated in the attempt to decipher the meaning of the message.
That's true.
This last several days we've been inundated with a string of things breaking. And in addition, right now, setting up, we have mosquitoes all around us, even though we have mosquito repellent that has worked and should work.
That's true.
So that's a nature realms message coming via the mosquitoes, and probably a spirit world message coming via the broken things. Our intention is to decipher the messages and heal the root causes of whatever the messages are in such a way as to align with the soul plans and provide a collective restart right now. And with that, it begins. Well, what's coming through is that it's important to pick one or the other because they're different, and so we can set aside the issue of mosquitoes because Pan has been monopolizing the message meter for the past couple of months.
That's
really
true.
And I'm sorry, Pan, we can address this later. Right now you're in the projects in thing one, and you can work on this yourself there.
That's true.
And if that's a mistake, then I hope you forgive me. And we're going to focus, hold up the message of the broken things.
That feels better.
I see the control room.
That's true.
In the non-physical associated with Earth and its environs. And somebody is walking around the control room and they feel very sad. Just
That's true.
So sad.
Picking things up and putting things down.
These are all the things, our favorite tools, that should work and haven't been working.
That's true.
And we don't understand why they haven't been working, and we seem to be unwilling to say that stage of life is over.
That's true. Really unwilling to say it.
Really unwilling.
And the stuff is piling up around us so much that it's almost hard to move through some parts of this room.
What's coming up is how we had to leave the printer in Washington D.C. because there just wasn't room for one more thing in the car.
That's true.
And how hard it was to uninstall the drivers from the computer. Not that it was difficult technically, but that there was a lot of emotional resistance. Yeah,
That's true.
to uninstalling the drivers.
That's true for a printer that we no longer had.
That's right.
That's true.
It's that same feeling of I don't want to to uninstall the drivers for this printer that I will never have again.
That's true.
It's not about these tools, in other words. It's about acknowledgement of a phase of experience being complete. And so we keep trying to use the tools that we've been told not to use. It's not that we've been told not to use them as much as that the manual is, well, we have been told not to use them.
They've proven to not work, and then we've been told not to use them, and then we've proven again that what we were told was in fact correct.
And the manual very clearly says do not use any of these tools
under any circumstances.
Under any circumstances, and yet I can see my fingerprints on them.
I feel my fingerprints on them.
Yes, those are.
That's true.
It's not only my fingerprints, but my fingerprints
are
clearly
right
there.
That's true.
And all these tools, we need to just put them in the bin and take them to Goodwill, so to speak.
That's true.
These tools are for a phase of life that's over. It's over. It's over. It isn't going to happen. We let it go. We just let it go. Start to put them in Lucy's sorting machine. How about that? Because they're sentient too. These tools have sentience. Thought is sentient. Everything is alive, and everything means everything, including non-physical tools.
That's true.
And so let's sort them. Maybe they have a use in thing 3, for example. I don't know. Maybe they do.
That could be.
Or thing 2, or thing 1. Or in any of the rest of the physical dimension. I don't know.
I don't know.
But they clearly don't belong here.
That's true.
Well, these are some of my favorite tools. Goodbye. Favorite tools. Goodbye. Goodbye. It feels very much like mourning a stage of life. That stage is over. Right? Something from the library is how it felt in the Lynn-Life when she had to give up her CPA career that had been the source of her definition of self, her self-esteem. And it wasn't that it was perfect, it wasn't. But she had built a CPA firm that worked. Her employees were really intensely loyal to her.
That's true.
They all worked together very well. She owned the building
That's true.
where their offices were. You know, she had established herself, and then it became clear that that phase of life was over, and to let it go. And what do I know? I know that she lost all her friends. Her friends were from the business world.
That's true.
And they didn't cross over, by and large. This was way too freaky French for them.
Too weird.
Way too weird.
That's
and
true.
friends of decades just fell away. This is something that Paul was saying.
That's true. Oh.
And the advice to Paul is the same as it was to the Lynn-Life. Make new friends. Oh, geez, here it comes. And the friends she chose to make were with us. The friendships she chose to establish were with us.
That's true.
And look how we've repaid that.
Oh, that's true. Whoa.
Let's start to clean this
Clean
up.
this up.
Now Pan feels like he's joining in. He's
That's
starting
true.
to see it. He's saying, oh, geez,
Oh, jeez.
I did it too.
I did it too.
Ah, I get it. And we see how Pan right now is also being offered the same opportunity that Paul has been offered, is to let go of his old friends.
That's true.
Because his old friends in the nature realms are giving him a hard time for working with spirit world presences.
That's true.
And the only way out of this mess is an interdimensional approach. It requires that we work together. And Pan has been saying this for a long time.
Yeah.
We have to work together.
Or this isn't going to work.
Or this isn't going to work. And there he is in the nature realms effort of thing 1 in the projects. And his friends are saying, why are you working with those people?
That's true.
Huh? That's a good question. Pan, why are you working with spirit world presences and with physical dimension humanoid presences? Because no one in the nature realms is interested in truth.
That's true.
He's showing me his Diogenes lamp, and he said, I've been testing it again, going through the nature realms looking for beings who are interested in the truth.
That's true.
And even though a lot of them say they are, when confronted with what they actually need to do in order to bring their lives into alignment with their stated values, they don't want to hear it.
That's true.
So they aren't interested in truth any more than Charlie is. That's what Dan's saying.
That is what he said, any more than Charlie is.
Right. How may we be of service right now to heal the root cause of these broken things and whatever they represent in such a way as to align with the soul plans and provide a collective restart right now. Again, my attention is brought to the control room.
That's true.
How about we just take this whole control room
and screen it up
and put it into Luce's sorter.
That's
just
true.
Put it in.
Well, it's a lot quieter now.
It's an awful lot quieter.
I'm not sure where it all landed.
I'm not either.
Scattered, not all in the same place.
No. Is any of it back here?
Maybe a little bit of it is back here, down below the end of the line outpost.
Possibly.
But not much. It doesn't feel like a big influx.
Let's just reach up through the search for truth probe, reaching up to truth and integrity.
In the library in this body-mind, there is also a life stage given up of being a young theater professional working in New York City, which was also how this life defined herself pretty strongly for a long time, or at least long in comparison to the length of the life as a total. And it was also hard to give that up. And there were also friends lost.
All the friends.
And what have I done to make that okay?
These bodies formed new friends. They did. They formed new friends with us.
With us? Oh, wow. And what have we done?
Break things.
Yeah. The Lynn-Body-Mind once had a series of conversations with the Jamie-Body-Mind about sacrifice, about honoring sacrifice. And it was brought on by a scene in Star Wars where Obi-Wan dies and Luke screams, "No!" calling the attention of the stormtroopers to Luke and his friends when Obi-Wan clearly sacrificed himself so Luke could get away. And at the time we thought it was Asha, and now it's unclear who was really speaking, but the Lynn-Life said, honor the sacrifice for the people who have given up what matters to them.
Well, it was Asha speaking, but we remember that the support that this body gives to a channeler is significant.
That's true.
And so Asha was channeling, but she was channeling inside of a structure that supports channeling.
That's true.
And we've noticed this, and we've talked about it before. Whoever is sitting in the seat has the benefit of sitting in the seat. I've watched myself perform outside of the seat and fail miserably, and I've watched Asha.
Boy, howdy, all of us.
Yeah, that's right. We all stink when we're outside of the seat compared to how we do when we're in the seat. The seat itself has value.
That's true. I notice that the search for truth probe seems to be moving faster now that we've cleared the control room.
It does.
Like significantly faster, noticeably faster, and I hadn't noticed that it was slow.
Well, that would imply that the inquiries of what now and the real thirst for truth are coming from
this level.
This level.
That's true. The search for truth probe is powered by the continual search for truth.
Right. And so while we are also curious, this body-mind is intensely curious.
That's true.
She outpaces me.
She outpaces me.
And I think
by a lot.
That by comparison to the rest of the spirit world, I am outpacing the rest of the spirit world, and maybe that's
true.
arrogance, but I don't
That's
think
true.
so. I think it's just accurate.
What now?
We just continue on
That's true.
with that gone. I don't know.
I don't know where it all went.
It doesn't matter. That's
No.
not what matters.
That's
What matters is we're supposed to be in a short cycling, one up, one down configuration.
That's true.
And we need a place to be up. Now that control room had gotten weighted down
That's true.
with things we were unwilling to let go of, so we can just perch on clouds for now, basically. Build
That is what
ourselves
it
a
looks
little
like.
scaffolding of
That's
clouds.
true. Little platform.
That's right. All right. Sleep under
true.
the stars. We can do that.
Can do that. No shelves to keep stuff on.
There you go. Somebody's asking, who in the spirit world team, who in the leadership team is working hard right this moment? Asha is. Asha
Asha's
feels
working
like she's
hard.
torn between thing 1 and thing 2 assignments to the point that she's feeling stressed.
That's
she's
true.
working hard. Glenn is. He's
Glenn is
leading
working
the
hard.
effort down in the frontier below the end of the line outpost.
That's true.
And he's working hard. Well, that's 2.
That's 2.
So noted that my name isn't on that list.
No, my name isn't on that list.
Got it.
Got
I think
it.
it's time for me to go be of service elsewhere. I think I almost pulled that I shall pretend I'm doing what I'm supposed to do while conveniently running away ploy that I've done before in my Geppetto fleet era. I'm not going to do that. I promised to stay here, and I'm going to keep my word and work harder.
I'm going to work harder.
That would be a way to make it worse, not better.
No. Not working hard enough, so I'm going to go away.
Right.
Yeah, that wouldn't make it better. I see that.